Hey YouTube, Untamed here. So today I'm going to provide you guys with, I think, the most important technique, I'll call it a technique, to use when trying to find a TRD Pro in particular. And really, as I was thinking about this is definitely something that you can do for really any vehicle. Any vehicle that's, I guess, quote unquote exclusive or harder to find. I think you can implement this technique and hopefully it'll help you out. So when I say it out loud, you're gonna be like, okay, cool, gee, thanks, Untamed. But I mean, I think this could really help out a lot of you. Because the only reason I actually thought about doing this video is because so often I'm talking daily, I get a number of folks reaching out to me on Instagram in particular. They're messaging me saying, hey, you know, do you know any dealerships that are selling a TRD Pro at MSRP? You know, and sometimes I'm able to help out, but more often than not, I'm not able to help you just because I'm not actively searching for one, you know? So back when I was, neck deep into searching for them, I could probably give you guys a better hand. But what I'm going to share with you is what I do every single time I'm trying to search for a TRD Pro. And it's pretty simple. But before I even go into that, I figure it is important to make a public service announcement regarding markups. So a couple things. Number one, don't pay markups. I don't care if you live in California or on the left coast here, don't pay a markup. Don't pay into that greedy markup. Toyota at large, big Toyota corporate, they don't want dealerships marking up their vehicles. It muddies the waters and muddies the brand. So they don't want that. It's the dealerships trying to take advantage and quote unquote capitalizing. I call it taking advantage of people, especially during a pandemic. Sure, supply and demand. You can get all businessy with me all you want, but the fact is, it's taken advantage of. So I am not a fan at all, and I think I made that abundantly clear. So A, do not pay them. B, if you do find a dealership that runs consistent markups, you do have a little bit of power. I mean, and the power is to do a review, write a review. Take literally 5 minutes of your life, go Google review, Yelp, whatever it is. There's a number of platforms in which you can do review. And just drop, hey, a 1 out of 5 star rating for them and say, hey, they charge markups, seems like a greedy tactic to me and a nearsighted tactic. Boom, done. That's all you do. You don't need to go in depth and totally bash the crap out of the dealership. Just say, hey, no, it seems like a greedy dealership, not willing to work. They don't seem customer focused. You can do that. And you doing that by yourself isn't going to do a whole lot, of course, but when we start doing that together, and numbers tend to actually make an impact with that stuff. So imagine if 50 people went to the same dealership throughout any given month and they all went in there trying to pay MSRP and they're like, no, 10 grand markup. If 50 people wrote a 1 out of 5 star review for that dealership, Toyota will take notice. Big Toyota. So that's within your power, and I encourage everybody to do that. Absolutely do that. So anyways, I wanted to start with those couple of PSAs. A, don't pay it, because if you pay it, you're propelling the issue. You're fueling the issue. You're putting blood in the water for the sharks. You're like, hey, we sold one for a 10 grand markup. We can absolutely sell a couple more. So they hold on to it. So don't feed into it. And B, write a review. It takes only 5-10 minutes of your life, and collectively we can make a black eye on some of these dealerships doing this stuff, and over time they might reconsider that, because a dealership's reputation is huge. Anyway, so I digress on that, and let's get to the important bit. The important bit is, and again, some of you are gonna think I'm kind of silly for even making a point to make a video for this, but this is what I do. So whenever I'm looking, I purposely check every dealership, of course, in the state that I'm in, that I live in. This is exactly what I do. I Google Toyota dealerships in Washington State or Toyota dealerships in Oregon, right? And I go through them one by one and I check their websites. I check their websites to see if they have it. I also do like cars.com, Auto Trader, and that kind of stuff. I do that as well. But the most promising tactic has been this. So go through them one by one, every single dealership, even the random dealerships that appear to be small. You never know. I mean, they might just get one TRD Pro, right? And the trick comes in when you actually call them. So call them even if they don't have one on their site. So it's cool if they have one on the site, but 9 times out of 10, if it's on the site, well, there's 100 other people that just found that TRD Pro too, and they're already bugging them and blowing up their phones. But the trick is, and this is where, you know, if you're trying to get a good deal, it takes some it takes some persistence and work on your end. It's just not going to fall in your lap. And if it does fall in your lap, heck yeah, I would declare you lucky, and that's awesome. And it definitely happens for some folks, so don't get me wrong. But call the dealerships even if they do not have it on their website, because when you call them, what you want to ask them is, hey, you know, I know you guys don't have it listed on your website, but I figured I'd give you a buzz and see if you happen to have a 4Runner TRD Pro coming in. Any inbounds, you can ask them. And because so many people don't do that, you know, you might be the first person to call them when they have one 2 weeks out, and it's just not populated on their website or any website yet. And this is how I got my Tundra TRD Pro. They didn't have my Lunar Rock Tundra TRD Pro on their website at all. Same with my Army Green one, if I recall correctly. They didn't even have it on their website. It's just a matter of calling. I actually called on a 4Runner, for the record, when I bought that Army Green. I wasn't planning on getting the Army Green one, but neither here or there at this point. But what I'm getting at is you call them and you ask them if they have one inbound. And you might just be the first person to ever ask them that question. Even those small dealerships, like I said, they might just get that one 4Runner TRD Pro, that one Tundra TRD Pro. And you could be the first person on the list for it. And you say, yeah, and 9 times out of 10, they'll just ask you for a deposit. You know, I've heard this before. Don't totally quote me on it, but maybe some of you guys can help me in the comment section. But I heard it's actually illegal for them to collect a non-refundable deposit. I don't know for a fact, but I did hear that. Maybe some of you can kind of help me out on that. But so whenever you hear them say, okay, we can hold one for you, but it'll be a non-refundable deposit for you, when you hear those words, I don't know, maybe you can kind of think twice about it. But I don't think they can legally do that for you. So I mean, it is always going to be a refundable deposit if that is accurate, of course. So, but more often than not, I think they'll just ask you for a $500 refundable deposit to secure it. So that's the trick. Really, you just call, and what I do is that, you know, I start closer to me, you know, and just kind of work my way out. And of course, you know, on the east or the west coast here, it's a little bit harder to find them without a markup. But if you start calling, you know, dealerships in Iowa, Indiana, North Dakota, South Dakota, stuff like that, that's where you're more likely to find a dealership who has one coming, and you're the first person to call on it, and you can secure it. And just for maybe $1,200, $1,500, you can have it shipped to your doorstep with full insurance. Have it shipped to your doorstep and avoid paying a 10 grand markup. So it's really as simple as that, guys. So calling every single dealership and just asking if they have one inbound. And if they do, you'll likely be among maybe the number 1 or number 2 person to be on their list for it and put a deposit on it and get it. And of course, I think a lot of people will chime in with this comment. You know, you can, of course, you can order one. You can order one from factory, build it yourself. No, not build it, but order a TRD Pro. But that requires a lot of patience. And I'm sure I think if you guys have been reading the comments on a number of my videos, it sounds like people have had mixed experiences with doing that. You know, they'll order one, they'll say, okay, it'll be here in 2 months. And then it turns into 3 months, it turns into 4 months. Before you know, you're about a half a year out, and then the next model year is already creeping up on you. So let me know if that's happened to any of you guys. I know I've heard it a few times from you. So, and I know I've done a video similar to this before. I never really honed in on this little, I guess, technique, if you will, calling every dealership and asking if they have one inbound. And the final thing I'll mention, I'm not going to dissect it totally, but I will link it in the video description. I kind of go through, no kidding, exactly what I do every time I try to buy one, whether it be the Land Cruiser, TRD Pro, Raptor. I'll link that video, so I'm not totally beating a dead horse for this video here. But to put it shortly, to put it bluntly, if you will, is I'll try to find the best deal on paper from a neighboring state, and then I will purposely call the dealerships or like within my local area, within like a 100-mile radius. I'll then call them and say, hey, I have this offer from such and such dealership in Idaho. Are you willing to match them? Are you willing to beat this offer? And I purposely ask them to beat it because 9 times out of 10 they won't beat it, but they'll at least match the offer. But I don't know. So right now with COVID times, I don't like saying it like that, but as you guys know, I mean, everything's super inflated right now, right? I mean, used inventory, I would not recommend buying a used TRD Pro because you're going to spend more, if not the same amount, MSRP or more, on a used TRD Pro. So it's definitely not the time to be swooping up a used one. So this is among the few vehicles out there that it makes sense to buy it new if you can get it for MSRP, of course. So, but at any rate, so if you can get that a really good deal on paper from a neighboring state, and you know that there is one in your state available, even if they have a markup on it, you can maybe call them and say, hey, I have this in writing. Are you willing to match a neighboring state to be competitive or beat them, right? So you can always offer that up. But I can't say that on both sides of my mouth right now just because, you know, COVID has everything kind of wonky right now. So dealerships, they know they're not getting a whole lot of inventory. You know, production is backlogged in every regard. Same with used inventory, blah, 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 blah. I digress. So you kind of get my point there. So I hope this is helpful for at least a couple of you who are searching right now. And of course, you guys are always welcome to message me on Instagram if you have further questions. Appreciate you watching as always. Till next time.